Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Tuesday LinkedIn Live. Welcome, Nick Davis. Guys, you have a really cool show today. It's very different than most of our shows. Nick is going to educate us on what Grid Market does, Grid Market's mission, and about the state of energy in this world. We're going to talk about AI. We're going to talk about probably blockchain. Nick, super excited about this conversation. We clicked right away. You're a man after my own heart. Can you share a little bit about who is Nick Davis and what does Grid Market do?
Sounds good. So great to meet everyone. And Zev, thanks so much for having me on. Appreciate being able to talk to your esteemed audience. And thanks for that intro. I always love to talk about energy. It's the only thing I've ever really done in my career from the very beginning. I almost made a horrible mistake and tripped into investment banking and then took a different turn and ended up really focusing on the future of the electric grid, sustainability, and really under the philosophy that the future of the grid isn't big centralized power plants. It's actually distributed power where consumers, be it a house or be it a factory or be it a data center hyperscaler or a Bitcoin miner, have a substantial portion, if not all, of their energy generation at the facility level. Our philosophy. Go ahead.
I love that. Break that down for us because I don't think all of us really understand the vision that you have. So what you just unpacked is huge, okay? And it's completely different than what we're doing now. So can you please explain to us what you just shared?
Yeah, so the current status of the grid is, think of just big coal plants, big gas peaker plants, large substations controlled by utilities, even big nuclear plants that are legacy from 30, 40 years ago, because not much nuclear has been built in the last bunch of decades. You're about to see a lot more, but the flavor of those things, even from a nuclear perspective, is changing. You're seeing things that are smaller and things that are targeted more for a specific municipality, a specific industrial facility, or a hyperscaler data center. So in the past, big infrastructure, centralized infrastructure, and then you have transmission and distribution lines that are pushing it to all the houses, all the factories. What we really think is the most efficient way to generate power and the safest way to generate power is at the source. So where manufactured goods are being produced, where data is being stored, where you are watching TV and charging your cell phone at the home. As many know who have seen horrible power outages across the Southeast, some in the Northeast when you get weather, places like California that have really failing grids in many cases and significant outages very frequently. There is this trend towards generating on-site power. Originally, it was gas generators, diesel backup power. Now you're seeing people do it with solar power, battery storage that stores intermittent energy when the sun isn't shining and allows that consistent, smooth power deployment to happen. Things like fuel cells and hyper efficient products that, again, provide baseload power. There's really, again, a trend towards distributed power as opposed to centralized power, kind of mirroring almost the cell phone industry. Think of the past when everyone was connected through landlines and you need switchboards. Your phone lines go out in a centralized location and everyone's out. In a case like this, everyone's seeking that cellular distributed connection.
I love that analogy. I wasn't even thinking about that. One thing I was thinking about, and I'm not sure if I'm right or wrong, but I deal a lot with blockchain. Mm-hmm. And I know that blockchain, the technology of blockchain, allows us to do a lot of that. And I know I myself participate in all kinds of fun little projects that I'm giving the internet to some people and then I get, tokens for it, or I'm, these types of network. Is that similar? Is that has anything to do with blockchain, or what you're doing is completely separate?
Yeah, so blockchain has an incredible impact on energy infrastructure and the need for more power on one hand. It also, a lot of folks see it as a future for really managing secure transactions and energy payments. So when you have a distributed grid, you have the ability to sell excess energy peer-to-peer. You have the ability to have really a lot of smart contracts that something like blockchain can make sure is secure. So you really have a double whammy of blockchain participation where, similar to AI compute, blockchain requires a multitude higher level of energy intensity to derive transactions than just standard computing and standard data center work, for instance. So it increases energy intensity. You need more energy to power it, and it becomes circular because the energy services business and distributed ledgers for this kind of stuff, it really fits the distributed path of where energy is going. And these transaction networks that need to really facilitate peer-to-peer trading and really make this distributed grid more efficient. So perfect storm, we need more power, and then we need these power hog industries to generate more efficiency for these kinds of transactions. So more energy, more transactions.
It's very interesting because you're a lot more on the energy side. I'm a lot more on the compute side, but both of them are, the need for both of them is growing.
Yep.
And I truly think the world of tomorrow is going to be a lot of the compute and energy needs and how we can get them. So what is your advice, okay, for people, whether it's business or personal? How can you help people prepare for what's coming? Because this, I'm looking forward to it. I'm right now dealing with some peer-to-peer compute networks and all kinds of fun things. But what should people prepare for, Nick?
I think just from the energy nerd perspective and the infrastructure side, the doom and gloom people should prepare for to a degree is incredible stress on the electric grid and not enough investment in transmission and distribution and those big conventional types of networks that I was mentioning before. You know, it doesn't matter what administration is in power. It doesn't matter really kind of who's around driving that bus. That the reality is these are very, very underinvested in things in this country in particular. The transmission and distribution grid needs trillions of dollars of investment in order to maintain. And for the growth that's anticipated, forget about it. So there's going to be more localized outages. There's going to be significantly more pressure, and there's going to be significantly more demand from big data centers, Bitcoin miners, industrial reshoring effectively. And that's going to increase your bills exponentially as a consumer. So the question is how to get ahead of that. A lot of markets are still highly incentivizing things like solar and batteries on your rooftops, having backup generation that can fire up and offset those intense grid costs when either there's an outage or demand charges, which is basically like time of use price increases that come up. You got to prepare for that reality, because if you're watching this, the brass tacks of it is you're probably digitally dependent for your job, for your personal life, et cetera. And that doesn't really jive with underinvestment in the grid. So having localized power networks, microgrids, backup capability, all of that thing's important. And I'm not even talking about the business opportunity side of getting into this space. That's simply vulnerabilities for digitally inclined people. So you kind of got to get while the getting's good. And if you have a business, if you're an industrial owner, if you're a commercial owner, if you are an individual in a house, and I'm not advertising for anything I do because we don't help people with home installations of these types of things, but you know, I'd start being a little nervous about what the next 20 years is going to hold, both for your pocketbook and for your uptime, if you're not prepared.
Absolutely. I have a personal story that is kind of ridiculous and silly, but I do some business in Mexico City. So I spent some time there. And then I got this notice from the city or something that they're going to do like these planned energy outages. But if you want to still have power, you just got to pay extra.
Of course. Yeah.
Now, of course, I paid extra. I needed power, but it blew me away. I was like, seriously? But then I started looking, and it seems like we're not that far away from that. So, Nick, who do you help? Like, who are the companies that, you know, Grid Market and Nick helps, and how do you help companies?
Yeah, so we have proof points all up and down the value chain. You know, we've done a few houses just because we could, but that's not the business we ever pursue. Most of our business are large commercial and industrial asset owners. So folks that own data centers, multifamily housing facilities that span 6 to 10 square blocks in New York. One of our first big projects was for a low-income housing facility in Brooklyn called Marcus Garvey Village with the developer L+M. And we did the first permitted lithium-ion battery project in the city in partnership with Demand Energy Networks. There's a Bloom fuel cell sitting in an alley there, and there is around 6 city blocks worth of rooftop solar that's all being quarterbacked by that battery system. So that was one of the first projects that we did. The others are typically, again, either data centers, so big power consumers and power hogs, or industrial providers, so auto parts manufacturers within the automotive supply chain that have the electric load of many, many cities. And they might have a carbon goal, they might have a distributed energy goal, and a renewable energy requirement from their board. Most of them are looking to save money, and they're looking to make sure that their power stays on when the grid goes out. So those are our general niches of business. We have another kind of fun and exciting one that we support, which is kind of a side project for us. We apply our AI platform, our planning and coordination systems, and our general process to island governments and island nations who similarly need the capacity planning. So we've got 5 MOUs with island governments where we are helping them run their energy transition, where they're distributing power and running the same programs that we do for commercial and industrials.
That is so cool, Nick. As soon as I buy an island, you'll be the first one I contact. No worries, man. You got my island business, but that is so cool, man. You guys are helping islands basically transform the way that they are supplying power. Now, let's talk AI, okay? You guys use AI. How did AI change what you guys are doing, and how do you personally use AI?
Yeah, we got in early on the MLAI experience, and it was simply driven by not having enough staff to process the amount of data that we have to process and then package into recommendations and then update continuously with all the new data points that are coming in real time. And to give you a flavor of that, when you look at our platform and what we've built, think of like a Zillow or a Redfin from kind of a data perspective and a real estate perspective meets like a Bloomberg terminal from a communications and turning every building into a potential tradable energy stock. Right? There's a lot of those functionalities. There's a lot of data collection from our customers, be it real-time pulse data pulling from their meters. All that has to be translated into credible recommendations. Wherein we don't have all of that data, we need to run predictions and reverse engineer the building's personality, which is their load profile, in order to right-size systems. There are terabytes and terabytes of data that we require to do what we do, and we need to be relatively Spartan as a company. AI was one of the first things that we could step into that could automate our modeling and then take it the rest of the way. So that's we're not as cool as like the chat GPTs of the world on the generative front, but what we've really become good at and where the platform has excelled is packaging the data, interpreting the data, reverse engineering the data wherein we have data gaps, and continuing to scour the web, scrape things that we need scraped, and package that and interpret it as though there were an army of 1,000 developers. So a lot of that good stuff.
So I got to share this. This is funny. I know Catherine, hey, Catherine, a former guest and a lovely, incredible lady. Need an invite to the island when you buy it, Zev. 100%. Everybody in Grid Markets is invited. We'll do a big party. Another LinkedIn user is saying, count me in for the island visit. No problem. We'll do an island party in 2025. You'll be, do you DJ? I'm just joking, but we'll bring some fun things. We'll bring some drinks, but definitely as soon as I buy the island, all my LinkedIn community is invited for a visit. Now, Nick, how do you personally use AI? Did that affect your life in any way?
Yeah, I mean, really from a business perspective, that's our predominant use. I love using kind of all of the new generative products to fast track presentations, to create custom imagery and videos. That's been exciting to me. every day I learn something new. We've used it, frankly, to run reports, and there's so much in there, but it's fun personally. I probably should use it even more personally, but because we have those business applications, that's traditionally where I'm using it.
But I love what you guys do, because I have this understanding with AI, and I think it's the right thing, but not everybody agrees with me. Some people think AI is a magic stick, and AI is not a magic stick by any stretch. But you guys know how to do something. So you taught and trained an AI to do it better and faster.
Yes.
So when you know how to do something, just like what you guys did, then you can create an AI that just makes it much faster, more efficient. But if you don't know it, don't go to AI. So, for instance, I run two businesses, but for the past 20 years, I've done a lot of digital marketing and lead generation. Okay. So I know anything there is to know for the past 20 years about lead generation and creating digital marketing, creating content. So we built an AI system that basically we trained for 6 months on how we did work, and now that saves us time. Same with lead generation. Okay. We know we've been asked to generate leads for companies for 20 years, and we've done a great job with that. Now with AI, we can make it so much better. So we have a tool, Nick, that basically builds pipelines. So I love salespeople, and I don't want to replace any salesperson. I think sales is the oxygen for a business. You know this as a business owner and an entrepreneur. So instead of removing salespeople, I want to bolster them. I want to give them more. So I've built a system that does what most of the salespeople that I know don't do that well, which is build pipelines. They like the meetings, they like the clients, but they don't like the ongoing work of building a pipeline without people responding to them. So we built an AI for that. So anything you do good, an AI can scale you. But if you don't do it well, stay away from the AI, if that makes sense. Does that make sense to you, Nick?
Absolutely.
Now, go ahead.
Yeah, there were kind of a lot of early there was a lot of early advice that people received on AI, and one of the big ones too was, and I totally agree with your point, that if you don't have a good foundation, using it to really amplify and just going all in, and it doesn't make sense. You have to shore up the foundation. And similarly, I remember the old advice was always, your data out's only as good as your data in. So if you don't have good data and good training models, then you're not going to get good outcomes. I think for us, we kind of leapt into the pond, realizing that our outcomes were going to be as imperfect as our data, because a lot of the utility data out there and the baseline real estate data one can scrape, the quality can vary. And I think in diving into it, probably a little prematurely, we were able to kind of iron out a lot of those kinks on the fly. I think one of the advantages you're seeing with a lot of the off-the-shelf AIs out there now is they have the ability to, similarly to maybe how it builds your sales funnel, they have the ability to kind of identify and clean that input data and then analyze it through outputs. So I think, the initial entree isn't so reliant on a perfect clean set anymore. I think there's some, anomaly detection and cleaning that the AI can do on the front end for you that really maybe gives people no excuse to not jump into it a little quicker. So
I agree, but I feel like there's a huge step. Okay. When you use generic tools that don't know you, yeah, they'll do a good job, but they'll do a good job the same they will do for another company that is not, Grid Market.
Yep.
And I hate that.
Yeah.
Because Grid Market's Grid Market, and you guys are unique because of your uniqueness. So I always suggest to companies in 3 different ways, Nick. One, let's say that, one day you want to sell Grid Market, or if somebody comes and offers you, $500 million, you're probably going to want to sell your company. When you bring AI into your company, into your tech stacks, into your SDKs, your valuation rises. Okay. Now, that's one. Let's say you don't want to do that and you don't want to invest, and you're like, I'm not into this game. But still, if you create a knowledge base that then the AI can really understand who you are, now the AI can perform literally, and I'm not exaggerating, 10x, because it knows you. And one of my favorite sayings, this is not my saying, Daniel Tappan, shout out to you, is a lot of AI, let's take ChatGPT for example, creates what he used to call beautiful crap. Okay? It's beautiful, it's impressive, but if you really know what you're doing and you dive in, it's shit. It's not good. But if you don't know enough, then you're like, oh, let me use this. And God forbid, send it to a client or the board or your boss. And people don't know this. And I don't know if you know this, but if you created something on ChatGPT, I can find that out. I can ask ChatGPT, was this created by you? And ChatGPT would say yes or no and when. So you gotta be careful, on overutilizing things that are not really set up to you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I love this. So this was so fascinating. Can you tell us how companies can reach out to you? How companies can figure out how Grid Market can help them? And if you don't mind, I would love to, look at some of the amazing things you guys have already done, your partnerships, like some of the amazing projects that are already out there.
Yeah, absolutely. People can find us at our website. They can email us at info@gridmarket.com or email me personally. I'm sure Zev can post something about it after, but it's nick.davis@gridmarket.com. We also have some little widgets where companies or people can upload addresses and see some preliminary outputs and benefits, kind of little pseudo marketing tools that show the types of assets and how they can save money by installing.
Let me see if I can share your website with the audience. Let me see if I can make that happen. Hold on. Yes, let's share our screen.
At the end of the day, what we like best is pairing people with energy independence and allowing people to really grab on to this energy future, because at the end of the day, we don't want you saying 3 years ago, hey, we really should have installed this asset on site when we could have gotten it for a 50% discount post-tax credit, and all of a sudden you're sitting in the dark because you had a storm or because the grid was overloaded during kind of peak heat during the summer. You're going to see a lot more of that. So
I love that. I love the visuals on your site. I love that people can actually put their information and check, and then everybody can fill out this form or reach out to you on LinkedIn. And this is something people need to think about before it's too late, right?
Absolutely. Get while the getting's good, because we often talk about the carrot or the stick. I don't think there's going to be a stick in terms of regulation that's going to be forcing people to do this. I think that ship has sailed. There's just so much energy demand. The punishment that you'll ultimately receive for not looking at these kinds of things and shoring up your energy supply is not having access to that energy supply, or, as Zev mentioned, in kind of the recent kind of mercenary exchange from the utility, where they were trying to lever you up for a really high payment to stay on the grid. You're going to see a lot more of that. So unless you want to be a complete victim of mercenary financial practice from your utility, where they're just charging you crazy amounts, or whether you want to sit in the dark, you probably have to start thinking about this stuff.
I love that. I look at it very similarly to how I look at AI. This is get while the getting's good before you'll need to really catch up, before it will cost you heavily time, money, and other ways. So I love what you guys are doing. And everybody, think about the future, okay? I always tell everybody that would listen to me, I don't want to be where the puck is. I want to be where the puck is going. And Nick, brother, you're going where the puck is going. And I love the innovation. I love bringing people like you that, yes, you're an energy geek, but this is so interesting and we all need to know this. And when you're prepared, you're powerful, right? Like, guys, think about all the biggest companies in the world today. They're a derivative of the smartphone, okay? There are people that figure that out. Now, AI on one side, energy on the other side, that's what's going to basically establish the future and establish the giants of the future. And Nick, I'm betting on you, man.
Thanks, Ev. I appreciate it. And I also appreciated your puck analogy as a lifelong hockey player. So.
Oh, I love that. I've never played hockey in my life, but huge Wayne Gretzky fan. I think he's brilliant. I grew up in Israel, so, not too many ice rinks close to home, but it's such an exciting sport. I spent some time in DC while I think Ovechkin is still playing, but while he was like in his grade, and DC was so excited about the Capitals and hockey, and it's such an exciting game, man.
Fair enough. No, absolutely.
Awesome. Everybody, thank you for coming in. I'm going to leave the last couple of minutes to Nick. Nick, you've been amazing. I enjoyed talking to you. I learned from you every time we speak. Looking forward for the next time. And everybody, reach out to Nick on LinkedIn. Reach out to Grid Market. We just shared their website. If somebody of our audience can please put Grid Market's link, Grid Market's URL in the comments, I'd truly appreciate it. If you can put Nick's LinkedIn on the comments. If not, we'll put that later. But Nick, you've educated me. We love hearing about what you're doing in Grid Market. Tell us what we need to pay attention to, and what is kind of your last words in this podcast.
Yeah, at the end of the day, whether it's AI, whether it is blockchain and crypto, all of these things are inextricably tied to your energy profile and energy demand. And you can't have one without the other. It simply doesn't exist. And, the centralized system that we've been relying on for basically since Thomas Edison invented the grid, it's almost the same. And now it's finally changing. And it needs to change because there hasn't been much investment in it since the New Deal. So the reality is legacy systems don't survive fantastic innovations that are, resting on top of them. Ultimately, those foundations crack, and you need to change what you're doing, or else the building collapses. So we're at that point right now where everyone needs to shore up their own buildings. And if you don't, you're going to be sitting in the dark in a collapse. It's just the reality. Unless someone comes in with, with a few $1 trillion and, temporarily empties out all of the US to redo all the infrastructure, it's going this direction. You're going to see hundreds, if not thousands, of small modular nuclear reactors that are powering these things around the country. You're going to see solar and battery projects continue to proliferate. You're going to see distributed projects at homes and businesses. At the end of the day, this is the future. Get while the getting's good. It's highly incentivized now. It might not be even in 6 months. So it's just
love that. Dude, get what the getting's good. Now, if I'm lucky enough to have another live with you, this is what I want to talk about. I would love to talk about what you think about Tesla and his kind of thoughts about energy. I would love for you to talk about energy hacking. Okay, like that's a huge thing. I know I'm Israeli. This is something we've been thinking about for a long time.
Yeah.
So those are things I want to continue talking to you about. You have been brilliant and interesting, Nick, and thank you for your time. Appreciate you coming and educating our community.
Thanks so much, Zev. Really appreciate the time.
Everybody, contact Nick, reach out to Grid Market, and we'll see and we will see you next time on our live. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.